Hey everyone, welcome back. This is another exciting episode of Sales Uncharted. As your host, I'm always looking for some very interesting people that can bring tremendous power and tremendous knowledge to this forum. LinkedIn is one of those places which you can't live without, but you also sometimes go there and try to ask yourself, what is going on? Everyone is trying to sell to you. Sometimes I just feel that fingers are pointing at each other. Hey, I'm selling, are you buying? And then I'm saying, I'm also selling, are you buying? And then you end up in this very weird situation. But if you step back for a second, sometimes on LinkedIn you're going to find someone very unique, very methodical, has got a great way of positioning things, and that's how I bumped into Dr. Javier Carlin. Javier, welcome to the show. I am going to hand over to you soon, but I really want to take this opportunity to kind of explain to the gang why I saw and I really wanted to bring you on board. Javier, my background is sales, right? I'm a B2B sales consultant, and I would say to you that I consider sales to be a very noble function. I also consider sales to be a function that is constantly impacted by continued stress. I've had sales leaders telling me, I don't understand why salespeople complain so much. I pay the guy 250K per annum. So my response is as follows, Javier, and I think you'll agree with this. If you pay people high enough, that doesn't give you the right to abuse them. That
Mm.
gives doesn't give the right to misuse them. Are you telling me that if you're a good Samaritan and if you meet Elon Musk lying on the side of the road and he needs a blood donation or someone to take him to hospital, you're going to say, since he's a billionaire, therefore I will not help him? That's not how it works, right? So I love the function. And when I was looking at your background, you're a doctor of physical therapy, you have turned into a sales performance coach. And I was thinking, what's going on here? And then I saw the name of your organization, Hidden Revenue Company, I think, right? And
Yes,
I was
that's
like,
correct.
that's interesting, hidden revenue. That's such a metaphor. I like that metaphor because at the end of the day, your job is very simple. You're not saying that I'm going to make you mentally resilient or emotionally stable. You're actually saying I'm going to help you find that hidden revenue that maybe is not visible to you because of some limitations that your brain or your mind is putting to it. That is the angle which really interested me. So I said, I like this guy. So I started reading up on some of the stuff you're doing, and I actually felt that there's an opportunity to ask you to come on this podcast and talk about these subconscious blocks, as you called it, right? What are these things that quietly sabotage performance? Now, here's the funny thing. A lot of people tell me, let me tell you about performance, Deepak. I'm at 80% of quota. I'm 20% less. My performance is bad. And I look at that person, I say to him, wait a minute, is that your definition of performance? Is that it? You're measuring yourself by a number? I
Mm.
want to ask you, is your role your identity or is your identity your role? Are we mixing things up here? Now, Javier, I'm not an expert, but you can typically see that people are so used to focusing on outputs in sales, they actually don't focus on the inputs. And I think inputs is where you specialize. And I really wanted to give you an opportunity. So
100%.
you're someone who's got a doctorate in physical therapy. You become a sales performance coach. Javier, please enlighten me and my audience. How does this transition happen? Did you get a call from God or did you get this voice from the heavens? What happened? Tell me a bit more about that.
Yes, yes. This was an incredible introduction. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really honored to have received your message and the invitation to be on this podcast first and foremost. So thank you. And I'm really excited to share with everyone a bit about my story and how I got to where I am today. So, like you said, right, how does this happen from doctor of physical therapy to now a subconscious sales performance coach? And so really brief backstory, taking you back to how I even got into physical therapy to begin with. I feel like for me, like most people, I was kind of forced down this path of one of the top three professions, right? Whether it was become a doctor, become a lawyer, right? Or whatever those,
Wait, you didn't
directions.
say engineer. Every Indian on the call
Engineer.
is waiting for engineer.
Sorry. Engineer, right? We got engineer, dentist, all the most common
All the good stuff.
professions,
Yes.
right? And so I went down this path, and I was going to become a medical doctor, realizing that I went through a few experiences, had a couple conversations, met some great experiences with a neurosurgeon, and I was like, if that's what I'm going to become, I don't want any part of it. And of course, as a young person, my mind was very suggestible, and I was like, if this is what it means to be that, I don't want to become that. And so
Hmm.
I then stumbled across the challenge of, okay, well, I've been preparing to go into the medical field. I really want to help people. What do I do? And so I spoke with a mentor of mine that was a couple years earlier, older than me at the time, and he said, "What about physical therapy?" I was like, "Oh, what is physical therapy?" And so I ventured into it. I was really into health and fitness, and I was like, you know what? I can see myself doing this. And that was kind of the external thing that was happening. But internally, I found out that okay, physical therapy, if I look it up on Google, it's one of the top 10 jobs in the country, right? Safety,
Yeah.
security, decent pay. And I was like, you know what? This seems like a good option. My parents growing up were entrepreneurs. They had a very successful business until they didn't. And that ended up creating friction, and they ultimately ended up getting divorced. And so for me personally, I was like, business, entrepreneurship, sales, I can't have both. I can't have a happy family life and be successful.
Right,
And so
right.
that's where my own belief created my reality. So I went into physical therapy. Now, the reason this is so important is in my third year of physical therapy, I'm already $100,000, over $100,000 in
Yeah.
student loan debt.
Mm.
I get there and I start to notice some patterns. I start to notice the instructors, the other physical therapists, my colleagues there during our lunch conversations talk about how undervalued they were, how little pay they were receiving, how much debt they were in still. And one person specifically was talking about how he was having friction in his marriage and they were on the verge of divorce. And I was like, wait a second, I did all of this to avoid that from happening to me. And now you're telling me that this was not the solution for that. So I started to question everything. I was like, did I make the right decision? But I'm already, 7 years into my studies, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I'm not going to stop. So it was that day I was driving back home from my internship, and I was listening to this podcast, and there was something that this gentleman said on this podcast that changed everything for me. He said this. He said, don't follow the herd because they'll lead you straight to the slaughterhouse. And at first I was like, wow, that's kind of intense. But I took a step back and I thought to myself, okay, what does this mean? And what he was saying is, if you do what everyone else is doing, you're going to get what everyone else is getting. And if what everyone else is getting is not what you want, you might need to do something different. And so it got me really thinking. I was like, okay, these people are not living the life I want to live. I need to figure out what to do differently. And so this man, he was also a physical therapist. He had a very successful physical therapy practice. And he also had a very, from what I saw online, very happy, successful family life. So I was like, my beliefs started to get a bit shaken up there. I was like, maybe it is possible. And so at that time, I was still very skeptical, but I didn't know I had to make a decision. I didn't know what else to do. So I said, you know what, as a student, I'm going to invest in his coaching program, which was to learn business as a physical therapist. And that was a pivotal point in my life, a bifurcation point where I could have been stuck following the herd. And who knows what my life would have looked like at that point, or I could do something different. And trust me, I got called out by my classmates. They thought I was drinking the Kool-Aid. They were like, who do you think you are? You're a student, you're a physical therapist, thinking about starting your own business. And there was all that noise. And I decided, you know what? No, this is what I know I need to do for myself and for my future family. So long story short, condensing this. So I ended up starting my own physical therapy practice, did that for several years. During that time span, I started to have my colleagues now asking me for help. Hey, I see you're doing these things. It looks like you're successful. What are you doing? Can you help me? And then I started to help them on the side with getting their own businesses up and running. That ended up turning into an online coaching business that I started with my then wife, with my now wife as well. But she was my fiance at the time. My fiance,
Good one. Good one.
wife.
No, yes, absolutely.
Good catch, right? And then because she's a dietitian, so we started this online coaching business, helping other healthcare professionals to get their businesses started. And here's what's interesting, though. This is where some of what I'm doing now came up, because I noticed working with patients. Why was it that some patients would get amazing results? They would heal. They'd be on their way.
Yes.
Right. And on the other side, we had some of them that would disappear after the first session. They would ghost. They wouldn't do their exercises or their homework, and they wouldn't get results. And I was like, I got frustrated by it because I want to help people, and not being able to get people results. That's what I love to do. So I was like, okay, whatever, I'm going to start working with professionals now. It's going to be a lot easier. They're going to do everything I tell them to do. And I started working with professionals, and same pattern. I'm like, top 1%, 10%, getting incredible results. Everyone else, good results.
Yeah, the long tail. Yes.
Long tail, exactly. And I was like, you have the same resources, the same strategies. the same templates. I'm giving you everything to succeed. Why isn't everyone getting results? And so I didn't think much about it during that time. I was very much on the take action, just do the thing and it's going to work. And then I made some not so great personal decisions in my personal life, in my business, that didn't go as my optimistic plans went. And I really got a little hard on myself. I started to have my own self-doubts. I started to have my own imposter syndrome, right? I'm teaching people how to build a successful life, and here I am making these silly choices,
It's the
which,
same. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
which is part of life. We all make them, and that's how we learn and grow. And I could have brought those lessons to them to teach them what not to do, but in that moment I was like, like I don't feel good. And it was during that time I was seeking counsel. I was seeking a therapy. I went to a traditional talk therapy, and I'll say this: it helped me to get more in tune with my emotions, become more vulnerable, talk about things where I feel like in society we're trained and taught, hey, emotions, put those away. Don't talk about those. Right.
Correct.
And so I went to therapy, but the problem with it was that it was about 2.5 years, and I felt like I was always venting. I felt like I was always talking about problems, but not really getting solutions and moving
The
forward.
lens too. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I was like, there has to be something different here. And that ended up bringing me into what it is that I help people with now. I went from the physical to the mental emotional with some spiritual sprinkled in there. And I went to a 4-day training in neurolinguistic programming. And at that training, I noticed transformations happen in minutes. People with phobias, PTSDs, all of these big things that people were able to get rid of in a matter of 10 minutes or less. And I was like, this is weird. I've never seen anything like this before. And it got me really interested, really curious. So I decided to dive deeper into it, invested, another tens of thousands of dollars in learning this information. And I was at a training that is 14 days long. And by the end of it, I did a breakthrough session, which is basically like condensing decades of therapy, if we could even call it that, because maybe even after decades, you still don't get the result, into one day, 8 to 10 hour day. And I came out of that on the other side, a completely different person. And it was in that moment that I realized, oh my goodness, right? I had all these things that were keeping me stuck that I didn't even know were there. And in one day, I was able to uncover what they were, get rid of them, and show up as the best possible version of myself, my future self. Collapsed a decade of time to get there and did it in one day. And that was kind of the spark where I was like, oh my goodness, right? I need to help people with this. And so that's a long-winded answer to your question. How did I go from physical therapist to what it is that I'm doing now? And of course, there's more in that journey and where we're at today, and specifically focusing on
So what I'm going
sales.
to do is what I'm
Please.
going to do then is I'm going to actually now force the conversation to why I got excited. Right? Is that
Yeah.
there's something that was happening, I think, in the traditional sales coaching playbook that you saw was missing.
Mhm.
Right now,
Yes.
I want to dig into that a bit more, right? So now I want to do it this way as follows. There's something you said that I wanted to check with you. You said that most sales teams obsess over the 5%, which is the scripts, the
Yeah.
frameworks, the KPIs, but miss the 95%, which is the subconscious. Now, a lot of my people are what I would say pragmatic in B2B sellers, right? They will read this and they're going to say, wait a minute, I understand the scripts and the frameworks and the KPIs. That 5% actually I understand.
Mm.
Or what is subconscious? What does that even mean? Give me some context of this 5% versus the missing 95%. How would you contextualize it for my listener who now wants to go from your journey, your
Mhm.
experience, but now he's saying, but I like what he's saying, but I still am not sure what subconscious means. How would you
Yeah.
answer that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Great question. So we've got, to your point, right? If everyone could visualize a iceberg, we've got the top 5%, the tip of the iceberg is what you can see,
Which, yeah, yeah,
right? These are not just the tactics, the scripts, the objection handling, the frameworks that everyone has. It's also the surface level problems, the symptoms that people experience. So in sales, what could that be? Inconsistency, not hitting quota, procrastinating, not following up, feeling rejection. All of these symptoms that people
yes.
experience as to why they're not achieving what they want to achieve, that's very actually just the tip of the iceberg. So what happens underneath the surface? Underneath the surface is what we can see. And we call this is the subconscious or unconscious mind, the 95%, if we're looking at it like an iceberg. Beneath the surface, we have our thoughts, which we have up to 60,000 thoughts per day. 75% of those, which are negative, and 95% are repetitive. We've got beliefs. So beliefs that empower us, beliefs that limit us. For example, one belief that I had as an example when I was younger was a belief that you can't be successful and be happy with your family too. That is a limiting belief that can hold someone back from being able to have both. And the reality is you can have both. Underneath the beliefs, we've got emotional state. So your emotional state, and people that are like, I don't get emotional. If you get angry, if you've ever been angry before, if there's something that you've been wanting to do, but you're not doing it because you're scared, that's fear is an emotion. If you've ever experienced sadness because of a breakup or someone in your life that's no longer with us, that's an emotion. We all experience emotions, and they're not good or bad, but sometimes we hold on to them for a little bit longer than we should, and they affect us, like fear of rejection, right? Fear of someone saying no. All these things affect our behavior and therefore our results. Underneath the emotional state is our values and our identity, our deepest level programming. And one of the things that I think everyone will land with, like, how is it, and this is why I brought this up with my patients and professionals, how is it that, what's the difference between the top 1%, top 10% performing sales reps and everyone else, right? Again, they've got the same resources, the same scripts, the same coaching, the same leadership, the same everything, but you've got the high performers and the ones who want to be at high performance. What's the difference? It's what's going on in here, right? At the subconscious level, it's what they believe about themselves, the people they speak to, and the world around them. Yet all of the sales training that's out there, which is really important and really great, by the way, however, it's focused on the tip of the iceberg, the 5% conscious work that you're logically training and teaching on.
Because in Javier, as you're talking, one of the things that I've always said to salespeople is that we are so romanticizing the 5%, as you call it. I'm going to use your language for a second.
Perfect.
Every conversation is, I'm 80% of quota. I am 6x my pipeline. Every metric is measured. When you finally meet a sales leader that actually says to you as follows, hey, we just went through the discovery process with client A, and I noticed you were a bit off and that you didn't follow the script per se. What's up? What's going on? Can we talk about that? I assure you, you don't meet a lot of managers who do that type of conversation, Javier. And my suspicion is that your work is going to actually encourage those type of conversations more, because that is leading to what you call the 95%, which is below the surface. That's actually where the problem is starting. So when someone says to me that I don't have enough deals in my pipeline because I don't do enough cold calling, that's, like you said, surface level, right? Now you ask a question, tell me the process that you go through. Then you actually realize he hates cold calling. I hate cold calling. Javier, when I used to cold call, I would literally, kid you not, I would be sitting there visualizing someone picking up a stick and just standing over my head. If I didn't do this call, I was going to get smacked on the head. And that was my motivation to finish the call. Even today, I don't like it. For some reason, that head trash that you were referring to, you didn't call it head trash, but I will. It comes back, right? And I think salespeople undermine that, because you know what they tell me? Doesn't matter. I just need to pick the phone up and do the cold call, and I have a script. Follow the script. And if I do 100 calls, I'm sure I'll get through to two. And I sit there very quietly trying to ask them a simple question. Why not call only 10 people and get through to two? Why call 100 and get to the two? That's when they suddenly sit up and say to me, wait, what did you just say? I said, yeah, you call 100 instead of two, you're going to get now 10. Isn't that better? And I think that's, Javier, the message, and one of the reasons why I brought you on this call, because I really want people to understand. You are sitting there working on mathematics and numbers, and you actually don't understand the subcontext of how and what we're doing over there. If you can figure out a way to qualify better, because you are now showing immense patience based on the work that you do, as an example, right? What I want to do though is, you spoke about identity, right? And I want to pick on that, because it's what keeps popping up in sales literature. And a lot of, now I know what it means, but you know what? I want to get your perspective. How does identity shape a salesperson behavior before they even start a sales conversation? How has it impacted them before they even talk about sales? What have you seen, Javier? Help us.
That is powerful question. And identity, and even before identity, I like to talk about values, because they're so
There's
tied
something
into
going
each
on
other,
there. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So someone's values themselves dictate their behavior. You don't have a behavior. You can't, if you don't have a value for something, you won't exhibit the behavior. And a value is one of our deepest level programming. So we've got values dictate our behaviors, and then behaviors ultimately dictate the results that we get or the results that we don't get. And so a part of your identity is your core values. And here's the thing, a lot of people talk about values and they're like, yeah, faith, family, fitness, fun, all the 5 F's. It's like, no, those aren't your values. Those are values that we've heard other people say, and they're like,
And
they
they
sound nice. I
and we have
value them.
adopted them because they sound logical. Yes, I'm
Right,
with
but
you.
it's
Yeah,
conscious. It's conscious. At
yeah.
the unconscious level, our values are actually created before the age of 7. So most people have no idea what they are, really are. And there's values for each area of our life. Putting that aside for a second, when it comes to your identity, values are a part of that, who you believe you are, and what is important to you. Identity statements are typically start with the phrase I am blank. A lot of
Mhm.
people put identities of even me as if I stuck to my identity as I am a physical therapist and that's all I am, I've already put myself in a box. And labels, they limit us. Labels limit us. So if I cap myself that I'm a physical therapist, you and I would never be having this conversation because that's nothing. I wouldn't even see the opportunity or the possibility of being on a podcast like this because I've closed
Agreed.
myself off, put myself in that box, and that's my identity. Your identity is one of your major filters for how you see the world, how you see yourself. Now, if a person says I'm not a natural closer, or
Yes.
even something like I'm broke or I am middle class, you've already put these filters in front of your face. It's kind of like the way I like to explain related to limiting beliefs. And for those that can't see me, go ahead and just close your hand, like like you're kind of looking through a lens, and put that
Yeah.
lens in front of your eye. Right? What do you see? You only see what's inside that lens, so you can only see what's there. Now, what happens when you destroy a limiting belief? You get rid of a negative emotion. You re-identify yourself as something more than what you think you currently are. You've actually broken that lens, and
Yeah.
now break that lens, open up your hand, and what do you see? You see everything in front of you that was always there. The possibilities were always there, but because of your limited view of yourself, your identity, you couldn't literally perceive it. So, what does this mean? Every single one of you that's listening to this, listening to our conversation right now, there are opportunities literally right in front of you, prospects that you can follow up with, people in your pipeline, opportunities for promotion, right? Everything is there. But if you're limited by the identity of who you think you are right now, you won't perceive them. And so
Yeah.
identity is one of the most important things to break free from old identities that limit us, like I'm middle class, I'm broke, I'm not that smart, I am not good enough, I am not the best closer, I'm not a natural closer, this is just who I am. You're not. You're way, whatever you think you are, you're way more than that.
More than
And
that.
so the identity piece, man, it was that was that a good explanation? Does that make
It's
sense?
it's 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 a very good explanation. In fact, I'm going to double down on it and just
Yeah,
give me.
please.
As you were talking, Javier, I was just thinking. One of the things that I've realized with human beings is that when you see a friend in distress, we give
Mm,
that friend tons of advice, right? Now,
yes.
when I'm in distress, guess what? The same advice that was so easy to give to a friend is the last advice I give myself. The first
Mm,
thing I say is, "Oh, you idiot! Oh, what a bad call! You lost it in the first 30 seconds. Oh my gosh, there was an opening there, you missed it. Then you scribble and you work on the next script and you move on. Then you make the next mistake, and then you again in this." And one of the things that I always tell people is that I really need you to step back and ask yourself a simple question: what advice would you give a friend at that point? And why aren't you giving yourself that? Because we are so tuned to going back to this garbage or head trash we have picked up. We never actually show that self compassion or self love that we should. We show people grace. We never show ourselves grace. And my biggest message, and as you were talking, Javier, I actually realized that as you understand yourself better and as you actually understand the identity conversation, you actually become extremely powerful. Now, if you came to me 20 years ago and I've had the same conversation, I'll tell you, this is hocus pocus. Because guess what? 20, 30 years ago, I was living on Diet Coke. That's it. I could skip meals because I had so much energy. And with all
Mm.
that energy, you thought you could rule and conquer the world. But as I started watching people destroying their lives, as you put it very early in the show, marriage, issues, challenges, I actually realized, whoa. And Javier, you were very man enough to admit that you had to seek external therapy, right?
Mhm.
At the same time, you and I both know asking for help when it comes to mental health is considered stigmatic, especially in sales.
Yeah,
And
big
I
time.
myself have gone through quite a lot. One of the reasons why I left the corporate world was because I actually realized I have something that I want to do. I want to help people. And to do that, I says, Deepak, do you want to spend the next 10 years building your 401k or do you want to do something different? And Javier, that's what I am. And in fact, if you just follow my finger, this is the book that I released just a few weeks back, Rise Up Your Career Reclaimed. I actually wrote it because I'm tired of 21-year-olds thinking that they got their first job, therefore they are at the pinnacle of success. And they actually realize they have not worked through those identity issues. They have not understood how to navigate the next 30 years of their life. Can you imagine? You spend your entire existence for those 10 years and then you get your first job and now you're sitting back and telling mom and dad, pina coladas for everyone, we are set. And then the first call I get is within 5 days. My boss never has time for me. I don't understand how the system works. My onboarding sucks. What happens now? Now, let's bring it back to you, Javier. You know, let's, I get this. Now let's talk about when we talk to highly skilled reps, right? Highly skilled reps on surface seem to be doing very well, right? But they are most likely having some internal narratives, which I'm sure you would say, Deepak, hold on. Again, the same surface stuff. You're seeing the 5%,
Mm.
you're seeing this happiness. But let me tell you, what are the type of things that salespeople do, even if they are showing tremendous performance, that you would consider to be sabotaging themselves and their identity? How would that
So
manifest itself?
that's a powerful question because there are a lot of high performers who are like, I'm on it. I hustle. I work hard. I'm hitting my
Yes.
numbers. Let's freaking go. And I think everyone can agree that at some level, they feel like there's this untapped potential within them that they know they haven't gotten to. And so there's this drive for more. Here's what's interesting though is I like to bring this up because some reps might be listening to this and they might be thinking, I'm already successful, I'm already crushing it. Like, does this
Yes.
even
Absolutely.
pertain to me?
Absolutely.
Does it
Yeah.
even pertain to me? Making money is just one part of the equation, right? You've got people who make a lot of money their entire life and have nothing to show for it. The second part is how do you manage your money? And not just saving it. Like, I don't believe, that saving is the best way to become wealthy and to create abundance in your life. And there are a lot of people who definitely overspend, right? So we've got saving, we've got investing, creating that generational wealth. And people have beliefs and stigmas around managing their money. Oh, it's too hard to manage my money. Life's short, so I make the money and I spend it because I got to enjoy it before I'm not here anymore.
Hmm.
People start to. I've had mentors who, in their younger years, made multiple eight figures, and they were bringing the money in, and because it felt literally their words
Yes.
nasty, like
Yeah.
gross to them, they would give it away as quickly as it came in. And so it's not about just making it. A lot of people make a lot of money, but why aren't they keeping it? Why aren't they managing it better? Why aren't they multiplying? There's beliefs around investing and what that means and looks like, right? It's kind of a short-term, long-term gratification play. And so if you're listening to this right now and you're crushing it and making a lot of money, I want to challenge you. Are you managing it in the best way possible? Are you multiplying it and making sure that you're not in this hamster wheel of having to work for money the rest of your life? Because sales professionals get into that trap as well,
Yes.
where
Yep.
they, and so that is to the higher performer. I'd like you to take a look at that. The second part to this is you can be financially successful, yes, but what about the other areas of your life? Because everyone's definition of success is very different.
Very different.
And
Yep.
to me personally, success is not just how much money you have in the bank. If your health is trash, if your relationships are on the rocks, if your family dynamics are deteriorating, if you don't have any connection with purpose or your energy, spirituality, for example, if all of those things are a mess and you're not fulfilled, you're not successful, in my personal opinion. I would not want to trade places with you, no matter how much money you have,
How much? Absolutely. And
right?
isn't that, Javier, back to the values that you spoke about, right?
Power,
When
yes.
you go back to your values, you are at peace with. And if I just go back to some of the people that I used to, when we were young, my definition of success used to be watching the neighbor with the biggest car,
Mm,
right? And then
yeah.
as you get older, you actually realize that wait. So I actually met a few people in my life who literally struggled to get meet ends.
Mm,
But when you sit with them, you see an amazing living ecosystem of values that makes so much sense. And I think that's what happens, right? I also, as an example, we just spoke about why I left the corporate world, because ultimately realized the size of my 401k is not my value system.
mm,
It's great, but as you said, money gives you options. One of the options is give it away to someone else who's more deserving if you don't want it, right? Don't need to hoard it. You've earned it doesn't mean you're going to bank it for the rest of it. And look, generational wealth is also not just money left in the bank for the 7 generations that come after you. It's also your reputation, your aura left for 7 generations. There's this old saying in India, right? Die on the battlefield in such a way that people write poems about you that resonate in time.
mm.
And when I heard that, I actually realized that's a higher calling. To do something like that requires someone to do something very different, Javier. Now, boss, let's get into the meat and potatoes, because you have
Yes.
been speaking about a lot of things, and salespeople are telling me, okay, buddy, you took 32 minutes of my life. Give me the 3 things I need to stop doing, the 3 things I need to start doing. So let's start
Mm.
on that shift for a little bit here, okay?
Sounds
I'm a
great.
salesperson. I'm a salesperson. I just told you I hate cold calls. What advice would you give to someone like me who has this fear or hesitation before a cold call? What's one simple shift that you recommend Javier a person could do that can make a material impact at that moment to that person? And by the way, that person is me right now. Help me.
Mm.
Help me, Sinor. Help me.
Yes. So obviously, right, there is deeper rooted reasons for why that person hates cold calling. I look at sales blocks, and what I really see is money blocks. And even beneath the money blocks, I see the fears, the beliefs, the things that happen in someone's life in their past, with parents, family members,
Yes.
how they grew up, right? It goes deep. Now in the moment though, in the moment, here are 3 things that I would recommend anyone to do. So, number 1 is become aware of your thoughts. Why do I hate cold calling? How do I know that I hate cold
That I
calling?
hate cold calling. Yes, bravo.
Right? How do I know? And you'll start to list the things that come up for you. Well, because of this, because of that. And now we're able to be very clear on, okay, I'm aware of it. Awareness is so key. Most people, it's like, oh yeah, I get it, and you have to know it first. Yeah,
Yeah.
awareness is kind of like either you're walking into a room and it's pitch black, you've got the lights off, and you're bumping into things, you're hurting yourself, you're tripping, you're falling, you can't see anything, it's dangerous. That's what happens when you don't have awareness. You don't even know what's in front of you, and if you're going to be safe. When you turn the lights on, lights go on, you have this
Woof.
awareness, you see
Yes.
clearly, right? You're
Yes.
able to see where you're going. You make sure you got certainty that, hey, I'm good. Everything's okay. So the first step is always awareness. The second step in this situation, which I'm going to assume they don't have some of the deeper tools that I have and I'm able to help people with. The second step is then, okay, I'm thinking this way. I'm about to get on a call, or I'm about to start making some dials. What's going through my head right now as to
Yeah.
the what is the internal image of what's going to happen on this call that's creating anxiety, stress, overwhelm, tension, fears, right? There's an image that we're thinking about something that's creating a physiological event in our body, right? Maybe we get shaky, our hands become sweaty, our heart starts beating faster. So it all starts with what we're thinking about. Thoughts lead to feelings, your emotional state, which then leads to your behaviors, the
Which
actions that
is
you take,
going to, yeah.
right? Which then gives you the results. And so for that person, number 1 is being aware. Okay, I'm spiraling here. Why is this coming up for me? Let me just write this down so I can see it on paper, right? And then just putting it on paper, you're like, that doesn't really make a lot of logical sense, but it's there. Okay, it's there. I'm about to make a call. What am I thinking about? Okay, I'm thinking that this person's going to say no. They're going to hang up on me. They're going to curse
Yes.
me out,
Yes.
right? All
Absolutely.
these thoughts. So now at that moment, what I want you to do is I want you to put all of that to the side for a second and start thinking, okay, what would happen if this was the best possible call that I could ever make? And
Yes.
what would that look like? Right. And now you start thinking, okay, this person wants to talk to me. They have a problem. I've got a solution. They really, really, really need my help. And they're excited for me to actually call them. They've been waiting for me to call them.
Yes.
People might be like, but how do you know? Well, how do you know it's going to go wrong? Right. Either way, you're
Absolutely right.
making up a
Absolutely right.
story. You're making up a story about a future outcome that you don't even know is going to happen. So might as well make up a story that empowers you, right?
Correct.
And so now
I
you
have a
start to
question.
think, yes, please go for it.
So I have a question. Now, and again, I have to interrupt there because
No, it's
I mean,
great. It's great.
you had a lot of stuff in there, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, a lot of people listening need to actually slow down and
Mm,
understand. When you speak about awareness, its ability, and I've always said to people, the top rock star sales reps are the ones that are the most self-aware. They know what makes them tick. They know also what makes them hold up. They actually work very hard on overcoming their fears, and they are man enough to actually admit to it. Just yesterday, one person that I highly respect in the B2B sales game, right, that I worked with very closely, posted, and however it brought a smile to my face. And he actually took a picture of him with a colleague that he worked with 10 years ago.
mm,
And he said about this colleague, one of the best days of my life, bumping him to him in this lobby of this place, and we exchanged notes. And then he tagged a few people that I worked with this individual, and he actually said as follows. He said, you taught me so many things, but you also taught me that the most things that work the best in business are the simple things.
mm.
So thanks for showing me simple truths that helped make me where I am today. And I just stood back and I said to myself, you know what? It's a shame. How do you now go to a salesperson and say, here's a rock star salesperson that even Deepak says is one of the best he's ever worked with? And he's actually saying the simple things is what matters. And I think that's the message, Javier, that you're bringing to this forum. We
Yes.
have a habit of, we watch movies, right? And you see a shrink sitting and he's got all these notes and he's taking, and he's like, how do you feel about your father? So what has happened to people is, it's like, every time you say salesperson and ask people, close your eyes and tell me what you see, they tell me they see a cheesy car salesperson, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or furniture store, I walk in and the guy walks, so how can I help you today? Ugh, it upsets me, Javier. It upsets me because it's far bigger than that. But it's not bigger in complexity. It's actually bigger in pervasiveness, that 95% moniker that you use, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
sir, since I deal with a lot of sales leaders, Javier, I really, really need you to switch gears and help me with something here.
Yes.
I believe that the single biggest roadblock to future gains in sales is actually sales leadership, not understanding the concept
Mm.
that you're presenting here today. I want you to shift gears and think about leadership. I want you to communicate and tell me, sales leaders of the world, sales managers of the world, you are in a privileged position to lead a team. What you say or do not say matters to people because it also goes to their identity as well as to the value systems, right?
Yes.
If I am a sales leader and I need help in trying to diagnose subconscious, you called it, I'm going to still use this, right? Just to upset you, subconscious bottlenecks in my team. How would you tell a sales leader what antenna, what spidey sense must they develop to get better diagnosing these subconscious bottlenecks? And give me that first, and then we're going to pivot to, now that I know, what do I do with it?
Yes. Yeah. So good. So good. The first thing that's coming up for me is the things that we can see, right? It's the symptoms of the problem. So for example, if someone, is not feeling well, and let's say they caught a cold, right? The symptom of the
Mhm.
problem would be they probably have some congestion, they're sniffling, they're coughing. So that's what you can see. And it's like, oh, this person must be sick. Right? So
Correct.
what does that look like for sales? What are the symptoms of the internal problems? Well, this person has inconsistent months. One day they're high, one day they're low. One day they're high,
Correct.
one day they're low. I like to
Yeah.
say you master your state, you master your sales, right? What's
Wait,
their
wait,
up?
wait. Can I put that on a t-shirt? And I'll
Yes,
just say attributed to Dr. Carlin, but no
I
money
like
to be
it.
paid.
Let's do it. I don't know who else said it, but I definitely said it at some point. So I probably heard it from somewhere.
Absolutely. And in the age of AI, Javier, what you say is not yours anyway, my
That's
friend, because I'm
right.
sure someone's going to go and add a comma and say, hey, I added a comma, it's mine now.
It's
Bravo.
mine now, right?
But
Right.
please carry on. I really enjoy where we're going with this. Sales leaders,
Yeah.
listen carefully. Go ahead, Javier.
Yes. Yeah. So inconsistency in sales is what we see on the outside. And what's actually happening on the inside is inconsistency in someone's emotional state. And how they're feeling is clearly going to shift how they behave. So that's one symptom. Another symptom is this person not doing their job? Are they not following up? Are they procrastinating? Are they not making as many calls as you are asking them to? All of these KPIs that we track, most people look at the KPIs and they start to go directly into, ooh, your conversion rate is low, you need more sales coaching, right? Oh, you're not hitting quota this month. Like, what's going on? Let's motivate you. If you don't hit it, you're fired, right?
You're fired. Yes.
It's like that's so surface level, and all of those are clear indicators to me that there's something deeper going on. And so, how do you begin to figure out what that is? Well, I think like with anything, you have a conversation, right, with your sales team.
You're right. You're right. You have to have a conversation. There's always I would, in any good manager, subordinate, or employee relationship, I think that's the starting point. A belly
Mhm.
to belly conversation. Don't worry about the outcome, but you always need to have that
Which
in
is
your
so
mind.
simple. It's so simple, and still a lot of people don't do it. They don't even start there. It's really
Yes,
interesting.
it,
Yeah.
it is very interesting. So now I'm going to dig in a bit more on this one, right?
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
leadership is something that I really want to focus on because I believe sales leaders have a massive impact on their employees or their salesperson's job satisfaction and organizational commitment. This is something I'm very, very deep into about, right? Now,
Yes.
let's look at the leader. You keep talking about this hidden revenue
Mhm.
that's inside salespeople. And I'm like, okay, what does he mean by that? So the challenge I'm throwing to you is explain what is hidden revenue that's inside people. But now tell
Yes.
me how me as a sales leader listening on this call can unlock it. So I need
Mm.
two pieces of advice from you.
Yes, yes, it's a great question. So I'm gonna start with the leader himself. I think that our what we perceive our external reality to be, a lot of the times if things aren't going how we want it, I always, me personally, start to look at, okay, is there something in my life that I'm not doing that's a metaphor for what's going on outside of me? I think as a leader, we have to start with leading ourselves, right? So if
Yes.
I'm being inconsistent, if I've said and stated a goal that I'm going to consistently work out every single day, and I've been saying that for months and I'm still not doing it, and now I expect other people to be consistent, not even having to be
Not
working
even.
out, but in an area of
Yeah.
their life, and they're not doing it, hmm,
Hmm.
the identity, your beliefs, who you are being, that there's a lack of congruence in how you're showing up or what you're saying, that other people are like, yeah, okay, I'll listen to you, but they don't believe you because you're not congruent in yourself, and they might not even know what's actually happening in your life, but that internal congruence, people feel it. People feel it. You can easily tell when someone's nervous. It's a more extreme
It's a tell.
behavior.
You can.
It's
Yes.
a tell,
Yeah.
right? The thing that people don't realize is subconsciously we can also tell when there's incongruence, even at a deeper level. And people pick up on that. They don't know, they're not aware of it, but they pick up on it subconsciously. So I think all that's to say is the first thing the leader has to do is take a look within. Am I showing up like I'm supposed to be showing up in all areas of my life, how I want
That's
them to show up?
important. Yes.
Yes. That's the first thing. I would say the second piece is having a conversation, yes, with the team, really understanding human behavior, psychology, yes, which I believe a lot of sales professionals, and this is why I love this work, they do have an interest in it. They do like the psychology and the human behavior aspect of it, and it goes a lot deeper than that. And so my I think what would be the most helpful with the time that we have, start with this. Find out in the context of career, in the context of business,
Mm-hmm.
what are your sales reps values? And there's three methods for extracting someone's values. I'm going to share the first one, the simplest one. You want to ask it 3 times. What's important to you about your career?
Yeah.
They're going to give you some words. Great. Again, great. What else is important to you about your career? And then the third question, so this one's going to blow you away. Great. What else is important to you about
How
your
about
career? And so what's happening is the first answer someone gives is the superficial, what's already been there the whole time. The more we ask, the deeper at the unconscious level we go. Now, once you have that, step number 2 is great. Can you please or put these in the right order for me? Which one's the
right?
most important to you out of these? And then they'll go, okay, number 1, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Right? So at that point, what you have is you have, at least at a base level, right? Because
Yeah.
there's a deeper process for this. At the base level, you have the top 5 things that are the most important to them. Now you can coach them, have conversations with them in words and phrases that they actually value. And because values
And yeah,
are our deepest level programming, they dictate our behaviors and then our results. You start with the values first. How can we make sure this value is fulfilled, this value is fulfilled, this
there.
value is
Yeah.
fulfilled, and tie it into their performance and what they need to do? And now you're speaking their language, and now they're like, let's freaking go. I'm motivated because that's what's most important to me. And everyone's different. So getting that for
Absolutely.
each person
If-
is going to be key. Yeah. Is that
So,
helpful?
Javier, my
Yeah.
buddy, I'm drowning with all this, right? But here's the fun part. You just open an amazing can of worms. You and
Yes.
I would agree on one thing. The way in which sales leaders go about doing sales leadership coaching conversations requires a rethink. We agree on that. The extent of that rethink is also about how much are you putting the identity and self-worth of the individual at the core instead of
Mhm.
this ecosystem that we always talk about. Sales leaders tell me, Deepak, I'm very busy. I have 17 ride-alongs and I have to listen to 6 calls to give feedback. And I'm like, I get it, but have you actually spoken to your person to actually understand what's happening in their state of mind? And you know what's really interesting, Javier, is that 20 years ago I met my first. Look, I've been very lucky. Javier, how many of us can say that in the corporate world we've had some managers that changed our lives? I can tell you right now, there are at least 4 that changed my life. But there are also 4 that made me feel less human. Every interaction with them made me actually question my own confidence and my own thought process to the point where I actually had to go outside to seek counseling because I was being told, why the heck do I pay you as a director, Deepak, when you can't apply your director level brain? No one has ever said that to me before. And this individual said it to me. Now, that individual's response to me is that, and you can, I said, I didn't appreciate what you just said. And he said to me, you're welcome to talk to me like that. I don't care. I said, you don't care because you are thick skinned, maybe. Maybe you're a narcissist, but I do care. And that also taught me a lesson. If you do not calibrate your understanding of your manager, or if your manager doesn't calibrate to your approach to life, you will always have this disjoint. And that's where the value systems break apart, right? I have a suspicion that you and I can actually have a session where we could actually say to sales leaders, here is what we think a well designed coaching session should look like. And what would that be? I'm going to pick that up with you one day separately, Javier, because I really feel
Sounds
that
great.
we could add value in the life of sales leaders to understand what needs to change in those conversations to bring out the best in people, right? My I'm actually emotional right now, but one person that changed my life a lot was a VP of sales operations. And Frenchman
Mm.
had an amazing approach to life. We would sit down for my performance review and what's up? How are things going? And I like, East. That project, blah, 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 that thing. And he's like, whoa, whoa, stop. How are things going? How's the wife? How are the kids? And
Mm.
I'm like, what? Then the next question would be, how are you in this moment right now? How do you feel that the year has gone for you? Tell me more. Are you feeling top of it? Are you feeling low? Are you nervous about this conversation? What are you expecting to happen in this call or this conversation? And when I did that the first few times with him, I actually thought that why has God given me this weirdo? But you know what, Javier, it changed my life because I actually realized he was forcing me to answer that question that you repeated 3 times, right? Because he was forcing me to think about myself and my where was I in that moment was that I was so focused on the company's objectives that I forgot myself along the way. And he was slowing me down to say, I want you to not just talk about what you're doing for the company, but I want you to also acknowledge yourself in the process and how are you feeling. That blew my mind. That blew my mind. And I really believe that it's my intent in this part of this journey. And one of the reasons why I brought you is that I want people to actually understand talking about your emotional state, emotional well-being is not a stigma. It's actually a respected and accepted. And if it was a stigma, I would argue as follows, Javier. Post-COVID world is different, Javier. People are now actually asking me, salespeople asking me. I just went through the most horrible phase of my life where I realized social contact people matter. We
Hmm.
all started working from home. The balance just shifted. Do companies think that we're ever going to go back to a different mindset? No, we're not. We're in a very different age. Now, my friend, God gave us time, but He also gave us limited time. So I'm going to now quickly start wrapping up as follows. I'm going to throw some stuff at you, and I want you to think of this as a rapid fire. I'm
Oof.
shooting
Okay,
blanks.
let's
So
go.
don't.
Let's go.
What's the biggest lie the sales industry believes right now that you come across and it makes you go like, what the F are you talking about?
Ooh,
What's the biggest lie the sales industry believes, my friend?
the biggest lie. Oh my goodness. The biggest lie that motivation, hustle, and just making more dials is the key to success, long term success. I don't agree with that.
Thank you. Good answer, and just enough to make me talk more, but I'm not going to do that. Next barb I'm going to throw at you, sir. If you were to look at the salespeople that you work with and you look at the range of habits you've seen, what is that biggest subconscious habit that every rep should just drop it based on what you've seen? Just drop that habit, man. Stop doing that to yourself. You kind of alluded to it with the biggest lie. I get that, but if you could just re-emphasize it from my perspective.
I would say the biggest one that they could probably be more aware of and actively handle is going to be being aware of their thoughts and flipping their thoughts to the positive. The It's a rapid fire, so I'm going to pause there.
You pause away because I really just realized I can ask as many questions as I want, but the last one just nailed it, right? And I really love that. Wrap it up. I would want to give you an opportunity, Javier, to call out where can people find you? How do people look for you? How do you help people? Tell me a bit about the sales breakthrough system that you have designed, right? What are the type of work that you're very proud of that you really would like to say, hey guys, if you are suffering with ABC or if you see XYZ, who are you going to call?
Dr. Javier. Okay. So great. Yeah. Thank you so much. So I would say, first and foremost, if you want to connect, have a conversation, or just get to learn a bit more about my work, I am very active on LinkedIn currently, and I'd love to be able to connect with you. And that's number one. Number two, my website, hiddenrevenue.co. I've got tons of resources that I'll be adding in there, both free resources and some paid ones, of course. The cornerstone project that I'm helping people through, like you said, is the sales breakthrough system. And that sales breakthrough system, it's going to tackle the 95% that actually controls our behavior and our results. What I've done is I've put together 33 of the most common limiting beliefs and fears that people have that is quietly sabotaging their ability to make more money and help more people.
Yep.
And most people aren't even aware that they exist. And including for me, when I went through that list, I was like, oh, surely I've got maybe two or three. I had 21 of the 33, and I was blown away by that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this system helps you to uncover what they actually are. I've got a system, a process that I've taken from the tools I've developed that allows you at the unconscious level on your own to be able to remove them and install a new empowering belief that actually serves you and propels you forward. And then number three, I've got a process that actually locks in the person that you want to be on a daily basis and shows up as that. So that is the sales breakthrough system. It is meant to allow you to train your mind like a top 1% performer and actually
Yeah.
become that.
Javier, time's up. This is what people get when we're having so much fun is they get nearly an hour of intense feedback guidance, right? One of
Yes.
the things that I am going to do, Javier, is that when we release the podcast, I will provide your LinkedIn handle. I highly recommend to salespeople on this call. One of the truths, guys, is if you have heard something that resonates with you, right? And if you just want to have a cup of virtual coffee with Javier, I get the feeling that he's a guy that won't mind at all. He may not give you an hour, of course, but you can at least get a few minutes in his busy diary to have a conversation. And here's my guidance to everyone on this call. We sometimes don't know what's holding us back. We just don't know that. And instead of you sitting there trying to figure out and finding a label, because this is what typically happens with me, Javier. People call and say, "Hey, Deepak, I think I'm suffering with imposter syndrome. Can you help?" And I'm like, I'm not sure because that's so precise, right? Here's
Mm.
my request to people: don't try to self diagnose. You've heard certain things today. You've heard things that are like emotion. You've heard things around subconscious. You heard things about things holding you back. You've heard about what leadership should do. If any one of those resonate and you saw something that makes you wonder and think, drop Javier a line and simply say, "Hey, Javier, heard you on the podcast. Would love to have a quick conversation and see if there's something that you can help me with." And whether it converts into consulting, whether it converts you looking at any of his, paid products or his paid services, that's that's beyond my paycheck to comment on, right? But what I can say is hesitation is the biggest problem that we have in sales. Salespeople, by definition, Javier, are trained. You are the most important people on the planet. Therefore, you are paid so much. I'm telling them that at the end of the day, you're still human, guys. So rather than trying to overhumanize this, right? Now, there's one thing that we didn't do, Javier, and I have to do it. And I know this is weird coming up. Last question for you before you go is,
Yes.
Javier, you got AI all over the world, all over. AI is creating so much noise, right? The work you do then becomes even more important because at the end of the day,
Mm.
AI can become a massive crutch to you. It can hobble the way you're looking at the world. People can look at AI and say, I'm going to lose my job. Javier, 1 minute or less. What is AI for you and how do you think salespeople should ready themselves for it?
Yes, that is a great question. AI is an amplifier. I think that it could make you more of what you already are good at because it's going to take away a lot of the manual tasks and things that you had to do before that frankly salespeople don't want to do. And so it should give you an opportunity to become better at your in your position, better as a salesperson, better as a human being, because you get to work on you now, as opposed to doing laborious tasks that again AI can do for you
Yeah.
now. That is how I see it. And sure, we can go down a deep rabbit hole of some of the movies from the past that it looks like we may be gearing up to, and that is down the line for the future. What we can control now is exactly what I just said.
I would agree with you, Javier. And I think the message, the way I read it, is as follows. Guys, AI is not something to be feared. You may allow it to create fear. It's like that cold call, right?
Yes.
I go into the cold call and have this fear and I'm going to call it out. I think what you're saying is as follows. In general, AI can be an immense force multiplier. You're
Yes.
looking at someone that can help you become better at what you do. And anything that can give you more time on your plate, it doesn't mean you go home early, but it means that you ruminate, think better, think deeply. Take it. I personally use AI in a lot of the work I do, Javier, and it's really helped me think about being a devil's advocate to my own work. So this is where I say goodbye to everyone. I promise this will be an amazing, intense discussion that I'm going to try to summarize, and I'm going to put a blogger